Some would say it was the greatest era in the history of the Vancouver Canucks, a team that was built with a clear vision, sharp precision, and a touch of real genius. The architects of that, Mike Gillis and Lawrence Gilman. They took the Vancouver Canucks to the very edge of glory, and then just like that, poof, they were gone. Now, here we are in April 2026. The team is at another crossroads. No, sorry, that's not right. They've hit rock bottom after a season that was nothing short of a catastrophe. So a question is, of course, hanging in the air for a lot of the fans. What if they came back to finish the job? Is that just a crazy fan fantasy, or could a reunion actually be the key to the Vancouver Canucks' future? Now, let's be honest. The landscape, as we all know, in Vancouver has changed drastically since they left. And not for the better. After finishing dead last in the entire NHL, GM Patrick Allvin was fired. The team has been torn down to the studs, trading away franchise cornerstones, including former captain Quit Hughes. President of Hockey Operations Jim Rutherford is now, of course, hunting for a new architect to lead a full, painful, long-term rebuild. And here's the irony in that in this whole thing. Ownership is now said to be fully on board with exactly that. It's a complete reset. And when things are this painful, it's only human and only natural for a fan base to look back to the good old days, to look back to the era of Mike Gillis and Lawrence Gilman and what they did for this team. It's, of course, a tough pill to swallow. The guy who saw the iceberg coming was basically thrown overboard just simply for pointing it out. Now, before we dive deeper into this, I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys think Mike Gillis was right all the way back in 2014 that this team needed to rebuild back then? Drop a comment down below and please let me know. So to really get the appeal of a reunion, you have to remember just how different their time in charge was. When Gillis took the helm in 2008, he and his team didn't just build a contender, they built a modern hockey organization. Their thinking was years ahead of its time. They were seen as pioneers for truly weaponizing sports science, famously bringing in sleep doctors to handle the brutal travel schedule of a West Coast team. They were leaning into psychological testing and deep analytics long before those became the buzzwords that, of course, they are now today. This was a front office that turned over every single stone looking for a competitive edge. On the ice, the plan was crystal clear. Build a fast, skilled, puck-dominant team around the incredible talents of Henrik and Daniel Sedin. They surrounded the Twins with a supporting cast that was crafted with surgical precision. They landed cornerstone defenseman Dan Hamhuis in free agency and made the brilliant trade for Christian Ehrhoff. And they were masters of the salary cap, with assistant GM Lawrence Gilman earning a reputation as one of the sharpest minds in the league for contract negotiations. Of course, the results really do speak for themselves. The team won back-to-back President's Trophies in 2011 and 2012. They were the class of the NHL, a powerhouse that gave us that unforgettable, heartbreaking run to Game 7 of the 2011 Stanley Cup Final. It's without a doubt the most successful run in franchise history, all orchestrated by a front office that seemed to have the golden touch. They had a blueprint, and for a few glorious years, it was working to near perfection. So, what happened? How did the architects of a team that were that dominant end up out of a job just a matter of years later? Well, the answer comes down to one single franchise-altering disagreement: the rebuild. By 2014, Gillis, he saw the writing on the wall. The core was still great, but it was aging. The championship window was, of course, closing. He went to ownership with a plan to start a strategic retool to get ahead of the curve and begin building the next great Canucks team before the current one fell off a cliff. He wanted to start a rebuild, and for that, he was fired. The organization and owner, Francesco Aquilini, specifically flat out rejected that vision that he has now, approved over 10 years later. So what came next was basically a decade of the team Wandering through the hockey desert, they bounced between half-hearted retools and desperate pushes for the 8th seed, never committing to a real direction. The forward-thinking vision of the Gillis era was gone, replaced by a muddled strategy that led absolutely freaking nowhere. The bad blood was obvious. In 2019, when rumors of a Gillis return started bubbling up, owner Francesco Aquilini went on Twitter to publicly shoot them down, saying he had no plans to contact his former GM. It felt like the final nail in the coffin. The symphony Gillis and Gilman were composing was left unfinished, and the orchestra was left in total disarray. Flash forward to today, the Canucks just finished one of the worst seasons in their history. The team is at the bottom of the league. The stars are gone, and the very rebuild that Gillis pushed for 12 years ago is now the only path forward. Like I said, irony. The GM chair is, of course, empty. The organization is desperate for a leader, and suddenly those old names, Gillis and Gilman, don't sound so crazy anymore now, do they? One fan even started a petition to bring them back. The case for their return is built on one powerful word: vindication. The entire organization has finally been forced into the reality that Gillis saw over a decade ago. Ownership is reportedly ready to accept a 5-year plan, a level of patience they never gave their most successful GM. So wouldn't the perfect person to lead this rebuild be the one who wanted to start it in the first place? Mike Gillis hasn't just been sitting on the sidelines. He has remained a sought-after mind, consulting for the NHLPA and reportedly being a finalist for the Penguins GM job in 2021. He's also been looked at for the Toronto Maple Leafs this current season. Just recently, as I just mentioned, reports indicate he's had multiple interviews with the Toronto Maple Leafs for a senior front office role, possibly as president of hockey ops. He's still seen as an innovator, although I will admit I've seen recent rumors that he might be out of the running for the Leafs job, but don't quote me on that. Now, Lawrence Gilman has been consistently working at the league's highest level, spending 6 years helping build the Maple Leafs' front office before joining the Columbus Blue Jackets as vice president of hockey operations in January of this past year. Now, these guys aren't has-beens. They're respected, experienced hockey executives. The idea of them returning isn't just nostalgia, it has real substance. But for every good reason for a reunion, there's, of course, a huge hurdle in the way. First, undoubtedly, there's the Aquilini factor. Can that bridge really be rebuilt? A public smackdown on Twitter suggests a personal conflict that might be a little too deep to fix. Business is business, but this kind of feels like it's personal in a way. Second, there's, of course, the question of time itself. The NHL in 2026 isn't the same as it was in 2014. The game is faster, and the analytics are far deeper, and the strategies have evolved. Gillis was ahead of the curve, but has the curve caught up and potentially passed him by? And finally, there are the logistics. Gilman just took a big job with Columbus just a few short months ago. Prying him away would be tough. Gillis seems to be deep in talks with the Leafs, although, like I mentioned, those talks may have dwindled down and he may no longer be a candidate. Now, a team with endless resources, that being the Leafs, and right here in Vancouver, there's a clear internal favorite for the job, of course, Ryan Johnson, the architect of the Abbotsford Canucks' 2025 Calder Cup championship run. And he is, of course, highly respected by Jim Rutherford, who apparently denied another team permission to even interview him, although they later on went and said Nashville never even approached them. But he also said in that year-end presser that they will not give permission to anybody to speak to Ryan Johnson, which is a little telling that Rutherford wants Ryan Johnson. Now, of course, all signs, as I just mentioned, point to Johnson as the heir apparent. So where does this leave us? Bringing Mike Gillis and Lawrence Gilman back to Vancouver is an incredible thought. It's a story of redemption as well as vindication. It's a chance to right a historic wrong and let the architects of the franchise's best years finish what they started. The rebuild they once begged for is now the team's official policy. The logic is almost poetic at this point, but the reality is way more complicated. The political baggage with ownership is, of course, a massive obstacle. The passage of time is a real question mark. The presence of a well-regarded internal candidate in Ryan Johnson makes a blockbuster outside hire feel pretty unlikely at this point. But in the end, a Gillis and Gilman reunion feels more like a compelling fan fantasy than a real possibility. It's a story that hits home because it speaks to a desire to get back to a time of, competence, of vision, and most of all, winning. It's a longing for leaders who actually had a plan. Now, while it probably won't happen, the fact that we're even having this conversation says the legacy of the front office that built the best has ever seen. It's a reminder of what was and a people question of what would have 2014. But that's just my take. Is bringing back Gillis and Gilman the home run swing that the Canucks need, or is it a step backward? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, none other than DraftKings Sportsbook, which is, of course, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. No sport flips faster than hockey. One power play, a goalie pulled with 2 minutes left, and everything changes. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for that kind of chaos. With live betting from puck drop to the final buzzer, and DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If you place a pregame player prop bet and your player starts the game but leaves in the first period due to injury and doesn't return, you'll get your bet back in cash. No bonus bets, no opt-in, just real protection when injuries happen early. New sportsbook customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
This video has been a presentation of both DraftKings Sportsbook as well as the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, the home of hockey podcasts, where it's every team, everywhere. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video and this deep dive, on your way out, like the video and subscribe to the Line Change for more Canucks content as well as draft content. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.